to have Shri Piyush Goyal, Minister for Commerce and Industry and Railways, with us today on the occasion of the 15th Sustainability Summit for this very special session on circular economy for self-reliant India. And under the Honorable Minister's leadership, if I can say, both the ministries have grown tremendously, and the huge support and cause that we have seen on circular and green, as he as a minister has actually walked the talk on this particular subject so much. And it's so great to see him today morning when honorable minister was on a meet of the railways, and there also we talked about how much of phenomenal strides that we have seen in the railways as far as this subject of green goes. And it is indeed a very, very fitting topic of the day, the circular economy for self-reliant India, and no one better to have a discussion and get guidance from. I see whenever I talk about and understand, sir, about circular economy, one relates to the fact that circular economy has been in the DNA of all our Indians for thousands of years. And when we relate to Atmanirbhar Bharat, I think Atmanirbhar Bharat is so much can be so much aided or by this entire thought and the work that we can do on circular and on this work on green. And I also see a circular economy as an industrial system that is rest in very, if I can say, restorative as well as regenerative by intention and design. And it replaces the end of life concept with the restoration, use of resources in an efficient manner, shifts towards the use of renewable energy, eliminates the usage of toxic chemicals, or which all impair reuse, and aims for the elimination of waste through high quality, superior designs of materials, products, and also within this business models. So today, as the global economy, as we understand from many literature, that global economy, the 8.6% is only circular. And a transition towards circular economy is therefore a prerequisite for ourselves for fulfilling India's economic growth ambitions and competitive Indian businesses especially. So when our honorable Prime Minister talked about zero effect, zero defect, it motivated us to really focus much more on this subject very strongly. And I strongly believe that the short-term costs arising out of the transition can be completely offset by long-term issues of profits as well as sustainability. And we all here believe that the circular economy calls for deep and widespread collaboration amongst all the stakeholders, industry with our government and the consumers. And it is that which really brings us to this session where we have this interaction with our honorable minister. And let me really quickly talk of two great challenges that are faced by India today. That is creation, like many other economies, creation of jobs for a young workforce, and also preserving the ecosystems services which our economy relies on. And circular economic activities like reuse or recycling, remanufacturing, refurbishing, repair are all labor intensive processes which we believe, sir, will create much more jobs while cutting down on carbon emissions associated with extraction and processing of virgin materials to produce goods and services. And innovative product design and business models can really bring a huge amount of circularity in the flow of materials and energy. That in turn will allow many companies, our members, to even remain competitive in a very rapidly changing environment. So achieving all these benefits would really require Indian businesses to lead the way in the transition, with our country's policymakers simultaneously creating the right enabling conditions for the country's competitiveness. Thus, the transition would require to be really science-based with a systems approach. And I just wanted to say that I have spoken about to the Honorable Minister in an earlier occasion of the number of centers of excellence that CII has been able to create, focused completely on sustainability, the Green Business Center or the Water Center. But this particular center, the Center of Excellence on Sustainable Development, with ITC as our sponsor for the last 15 years as it stood, we have really focused through this center or to focus on water, green business, and we have worked at both the central government level as well as the state government level with our industry leaders to encourage the commitment on sustainable initiatives. And in the past 2 years, this particular center of sustainable development, we have been expanding our footprints on circular economy through knowledge products and sectoral studies. And in 2018, a CEO's guide on circular economy and competitiveness was we had published that, and we also completed a study on resource efficiency in pulp and paper and iron and steel sectors, several sectors, with the objective of evaluating the potential of resource efficiency and circular economy and its benefit to climate change mitigation. So all of this work having been done, Unplastic strategy has been again a very important work that we have been working following the huge leadership given by our Honorable Prime Minister and the government. And capacity building on industries on circular economy we have identified as a key action area. So we have really been focusing very strongly. And sir, the transition, we believe, will not come without its challenge and will require a process of mutual learning and increased collaboration between the government and the industry and civil society. So we need, Honorable Minister, your guidance from time to time and inputs from time to time, so that we can have this partnership to be really meaningful and see to it that industry implements and works on the vision and the thoughts which are being laid today by this government. So I'd like to end by saying, let us work together to make it happen. So thank you very much, Honorable Minister, once again for participating here with us today.
Thank you, Mr. Banerjee. May I now invite Mr. Sanjeev Puri, Chairman Advisory Council of CII-ITC Center of Excellence for Sustainable Development and Chairman and MD ITC Limited, to address us, please.
Honorable Minister, Shri Piyush Goyal ji, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Honorable Minister, it's indeed a privilege for me to extend to you a very warm welcome. Thank you for sparing your value to be here with us today. Your vision, erudite views, as well as your outcome-based approach and the many purposeful policy interventions to drive industrial progress and economic growth have been truly a source of inspiration for all of us. In the current challenging and difficult times, we have seen your exceptional determination and the speed with which you challenges as the economy was reviving. I do recollect the speed and the speed with which the industry received support from your office, and you have been at the forefront of taking some decisive and purposeful policy intervention to revive economic growth. We look forward to your views on this very important subject, and as CB has rightly said, it is something that is very critical for India's competitiveness, for India to be Atmanirbhar. It's extremely critical. And I do believe that this current circumstances do reiterate for all of us in industry the need to not only be compassionate, but how important it is to embed societal value creation in our strategies as we rebuild for the future and make progress towards a more sustainable and inclusive future. The CII-ITC Center has chosen for this special plenary session, Circular Economy for a Self-Reliant India is indeed a crucial issue that needs special attention. As we reboot thought, strategy, and action to deep and reimagine the journey to the next normal, the need for resource preservation, regeneration, and optimization has been never more important. The need to build the resilience has also come to the and the Honorable Prime Minister's clarion call for building an Atmanirbhar Bharat is indeed inspiring and will help shape a globally competitive India through strong national enterprises and national brands. As CB alluded to recently, that the economy's footprint today is rather limited. and a lot more work and needs to be done. I would like to today share two examples based on our own experiences, our own businesses. They give a message that circular economy is also good business for society, and it is good for the business's own competitiveness. The sector I would like to briefly talk about is a very important sector for India. In a way, we can say it's the life economy, the agriculture sector, which employs nearly 50% of the workforce. It's a sector that faces a multitude of challenges, right from productivity issues at the farm end, natural resources, particularly like water, and also very weak market linkages. It's a sector that is resource intensive. 90% of the freshwater resources go into agriculture. It is a lot of inefficiencies in the value chain with enormous amount of wastages across the value chain. What we do require is, on one hand, investments at the farm end to empower farmer with the latest know-how agronomy practices, and we have on our own experience where we did at scale with over 1,000 farmers, aligned to the Honorable Prime Minister's vision of doubling farm income and more crop per drop. Of years we made appreciable progress. About 30,000 farmers doubled incomes. The balance went up from 30 to 70%, and all this was achieved on the back of lesser resource utilization. And similarly, we were able to reduce the water use by 25 to 45% across 5 different value chains. So this result of empowering farmers. On the other hand, to work on creating community water structures, we need to enhance investment in food processing that will actually bring in a lot more efficiencies in the crop value chain. Now, when we do this and reduce the resource intensity in the agriculture sector, and when we create community water resources, what we are doing is we are also bringing efficiency in the agri-value chain. We are bringing sustainability in the agri-value chain, and a competitive and sustainable chain actually creates a plan for us to be able to export much more than we are doing. Today, we have a very small share of the global exports. I think there is scope to double it through a competitive agri-value chain with greater focus on value addition. And in this context, I think the path-breaking reforms that have been unleashed recently, and there are multiple of them, I think, and for the first time, we are seeing very significant reform on the demand side. It's an unparalleled opportunity to create a demand-driven and efficient agri-value chain. And I say this with a lot of conviction because we have recently also announced that taking benefit of all these and policy interventions to do with FPOs, crop cluster value chains. We are in fact going to create 24 crop value chain clusters in 21 states. We're going to work with 3,000 FPOs with them as members. We do believe that these are the right ingredients, a competitive, efficient, and sustainable agri-value chain and open up new opportunities for the agriculture sector in India. So that's the first example I wish to talk about. And as this example illustrates, it is going to create enormous benefit to the economy. Farmer incomes will go up, which in turn will boost consumption and hopefully spur a cycle of investment, employment, and growth. The next example I would like to share again around the same theme to really say and hopefully motivate a lot more people to pursue this path of circular economy. Really, again, re-emphasizing that the principles of economy are business are good for society. And this is the example of our paperboard business. A large social and farm forestry for about 800. Now, this has given us, this is a renewable forest base. It's a sustainable forest base. It has created for us a fiber base. We do not have to spend on energy. We do not create carbon footprint to freight this pulp from all over the world, and it makes us competitive. Second, if I go down the paper mill itself, we have the best indices on energy and water consumption, the highest level of energy. So we are also one of the competitive mills, and that is visible from our financial metric. We also benefit from our program of recycling post-consumer waste. We have a program called Well-being Out of Waste, which reaches out to 1 crore citizens. Citizens segregate the waste, bring it back, and we have again a sustainable source of recycled which is available to us at a consistent basis and at a competitive price, again making us competitive. At the same time, this creates value for society because we are helping create a cleaner environment. And taking this forward, recently we've also realized the problem of disposal of multi-layer plastic waste, especially the low value ones. So we have in our ITC Life Sciences and Technology Center created a technology which converts this low value plastic waste into plastic granules, and which can in turn be converted into items of daily use like dustbins and bins and so on and so forth. And one such project is already operational in Pune, which caters to the about roughly half of the city. So all these efforts, I think, are creating societal good effort, making the business competitive. So it is a synergistic approach. That's really the message I wanted to say, that adoption of circular economy is really good for business to enhance the competitiveness of our value chains, open up new opportunities, and if we pursue it with that objective, we should really be trying to make more progress, more growth in circular economy than on our businesses. So over time, this is going to set in place a virtuous cycle. I'm sure there are many such examples that are available, which participants will share over time. I thought I would share the examples that we have experienced. And I once again thank the Honorable Minister for being here with us. And so we look forward to views and perspectives and guidance on how to take this whole very important agenda of circular economy and competitiveness to the next level. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Puri. And ladies and gentlemen, now we have Mr. Piyush Goyal, Honorable Minister of Railways, Commerce and Industry, our special guest for this special session today, deliver the keynote address. Please, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Banerjee. Thank you, Mr. Puri, for your very enlightening address. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for giving me an opportunity to discuss my views about sustainability at this very important 15th Sustainability Summit, discussing the circular economy for a self-reliant India. There's an old native African proverb: we do not inherit the earth from our ancestors, we borrow it from our children. I think it says it all. A serious stress on sustainability will teach us more efficient and optimum uses of scarce resources, and can actually redefine our very model of growth or existence. And towards that end, CII, working through the ITC Center of Excellence on different aspects of the circular economy, is indeed a very, very good step, which will hold the country in good stead in the long run. In fact, it's time we adjusted our industrial and economic ecosystems to keep sustainability as the focus of all our future endeavors. Because ultimately, all of these factors are interconnected. our development goals on the one hand, how we are going to reach the level of prosperity that we are looking for, and what will be the path to that prosperity level. In fact, as the Honorable Prime Minister had once said while talking about the impact of economic development on the environment, that we should stress on zero defect and zero effect. I think in a very subtle manner, he was talking to us about how important it is to focus on quality and to focus on the impact on the environment because of our economic activities. They say zero was introduced to the world by India, since CB was talking about back to the roots and how Indian tradition always taught us the importance of nature. Zero also is something the world learnt from India. But now it will be important to teach us the importance of zero, teach the world the importance of zero and its implications. Because ultimately, we have to move towards a world where we are net zero in terms of carbon emissions. Otherwise, the threat of climate change is very near. The threat of climate change is very real, and the threat of climate change is very dangerous. And towards that end, the 3 R's that the Prime Minister has talked about, reduce, reuse, and recycle, I think all 3 of them become extremely important. We clearly must reduce the materials that we are using in our economic activity, in business and manufacturing and industry, focusing thereby on efficient use of materials. Wherever possible, we must reuse products like Sanjeev just now mentioned, and therefore integrating primary sources of material and secondary sources, which can help to also bring down our cost of production and make us more efficient, competitive, and recycle. Whatever is possible to recycle, we must make a serious effort to recycle. Mr. Puri, I still remember, I don't know if you recall, in a conversation we had many years ago, possibly you were alone or you were with Mr. Deveshwar. I fail to recollect that part. But I remember you telling me that if all the paper waste in the country was to be collected, an efficient system of collection and reuse could be created, that ecosystem could provide jobs or a decent level of income to about 1 million people. And that has always been at the back of my mind, that that's something we have to work on. Today you have reignited that old suggestion of yours. And let me also apply my mind. I would urge you all also to deliberate on what could be an efficient mechanism. I remember in my childhood, we used to have the paper boy coming in with a handcart and collecting newspapers, old newspapers from every home. I don't know what's the current situation, how cost economic it is for that handcart puller to go home to home, collecting that paper, taking it to some common center. I don't know how that gets transported to the place where it is reused. I'm a little out of touch with what's happening on that ecosystem. But I do recall my own discussions in possibly Finland, it was, where we had visited Fortum's waste to energy plant. And it was right outside the city. The city was not large, of course. It was close to the airport, but the entire plant could use any and every waste to produce energy. There was absolutely no smell at all in the entire plant. We went right up to the place where the garbage was stored. And the way the whole operation was run effectively and efficiently was truly a treat to the eyes. Using paper for recycling to make fresh new paper. And I think recycled paper actually gets a premium in the market. Using waste to generate electricity or make manure. Recycling of plastic, recycling of glass. I'm told these days even e-waste gets recycled in different forms. Automobiles, almost every aspect, element of an automobile can be recycled. Clothes. I remember there was a time when clothes were not thrown away. After a certain point of time, you would darn them or even maybe give it away to somebody who needed it. These may sound very small elements, but they actually reflected the Indian tradition and culture of respecting wealth and ensuring that we do not participate in generating waste. Clothes, shoes. I could list out a million items, which in today's world, I don't know whether it's fashionable or the compulsion of times or just a matter of attitude that we don't even think of reusing, which otherwise can have a decent opportunity for reuse. Segregation of waste is something that we've been talking about for a long time, but we'll have to make the mantra of the nation. And every one of our citizens, every one of the 1.3 billion Indians will have to be educated, will have to recognize the importance of segregating waste so that it can be efficiently recycled. And towards that end, I think each one of us will find enough and more opportunities of how we can contribute to that. I remember in the railways, when I came in 3 years ago, we found our coaches, the trains, passenger trains were never very clean. Despite the fact that we were putting in thousands of liters of water through spray jets and trying to scrub all the muck off the train. But somehow the train never gave a fresh look, never gave a clean look. And having traveled for thousands of kilometers, I think a lot of the dust and muck tends to stick to the train. Any amount of spray jets was not taking it out. You'll be surprised to know that when we introduced mechanized cleaning of our train rakes, we were able to bring down the consumption of water by 90%, 90. And because it was in a proper organized mechanized plant, the water that we use, the 10% water that we use, we were able to recycle about 6% out of that further. So effectively, our water consumption came down to barely 3 or 4% from what we were using. And mind you, trains have to be cleaned after almost every journey. And when you multiply that, you will realize the enormous amount of water. And more often than not, these were plants are being cleaned, trains are being cleaned in the cities. This was water that is now available for cities to use for their citizens. Sounds again small, but when you look at the dimension of the Indian Railways, you realize how large a wastage of water we were able to reduce, and the payback for this entire operation, considering the value of water saved, was barely 4 or 5 years. So, as you rightly pointed out, the circular economy is a profit economy. It's not a burden, it's not a cost center, it's a profit center. And more, we are able to educate. Of course, industry has started realizing it, but till we educate the common man, we will not be able to get the best benefit out of the circular economy. I think this communication of the benefits of the circular economy, often with very simple day-to-day examples, can play a very important role in developing within the country this culture of zero waste, this culture of zero effect, and this consciousness that we have to contribute to protecting the environment and leaving behind a better world for the next generation than possibly the one that we have inherited. And I believe these small changes over time can lead to a spectacular transformation. It's for all of us to lead and guide the nation on what are the ways each one can contribute towards the circular economy. I remember the Khadi and Village Commission, on an experimental basis, started using the kullad for drinking tea. Remember the earthen small kullad in which we used to drink tea when we were children and would travel in the train? We experimented in some stations, and believe me, it became a rave. It was accepted very well by the passengers. And now, I mean, unfortunately, the COVID overtook us. Just before COVID, we had decided to expand the experiment of kullad to about 400, 500 more stations. And estimates were that that could give lakhs of people a decent level of income. You know, the kumbhars used to make these kullads or these small cups, clay cups. A lot of them are losing livelihoods. A lot of them are not able to sustain this traditional art form. But if each one of us was to be conscious about it, we not only were able to eliminate plastic. Earlier, tea was being served in small plastic cups. Those plastic cups were largely very thin, as maybe as a cost-saving device. So they were not the best of plastic to be using. Glass was expensive and disposal is a challenge with glass. If you try to clean it, you are again wasting a lot of water and hygiene issues are there. But kullad goes back to nature. So you are effectively providing livelihood, protecting nature, giving back to nature the used cup, and thereby at a very low cost, in a very cost-effective manner, you are able to both save environmental damage and ensure that the circular economy keeps strengthening. But for that matter, I'm told even in agriculture, since you raised the issue of agriculture, after the harvest, it's the residue instead of burning it, because now we have a different mindset. If we were to use it for generating, making coal type briquettes and generating electricity, we would save cities like Delhi from pollution, and we would give a value to the farmer for his waste, and we would be generating green energy. And it would be a perfect circular economy example. And I believe NTPC has experimented with that successfully. And if some more corporates were to come in and set up small electricity generating plants in and around areas which use harvesters and take out a lot of the waste at the harvesting time, agri waste, we could actually almost eliminate the problems Delhi faces in October, November, December. It'll need some quick ramp up of briquetting facilities, which can be at the farm level literally, and the utilization or storage of that for utilization through the year, and small power plants using this maybe in conjunction with coal as a judicious mix of coal and this briquettes of agri waste, which can collectively help us get energy for maybe again the farmers use or industrial use. So a self-sustaining ecosystem will certainly help the entire economy and help sustainability. And I'm sure your center of excellence can come out with maybe 101 ideas, a compendium of 101 ideas for a common man to follow, which can help us spread the message of sustainability and the circular economy. And I'm happy to offer my own social media and Twitter platform. And I'm actually all the time on some engagement or the other. I will use one of your ideas every day as a message for the next 100 days after you come up with this compendium. So I would urge your center of excellence to put together 101 good ideas for the common man. Simple, small, effective ideas. It could be as simple as closing the tap while you are brushing. And I suspect that's something we did when we were children. Don't do it anymore. All you have to do is close the tap twice between the time you take to brush your teeth. I'm told it saves several liters of water every day, morning, evening, 365 days. Multiplied by so many millions of people, my God, the numbers can be huge. You know the LED program, I won't repeat it here. But one of the fastest rollouts of an energy efficient device anywhere in the world was carried out under Prime Minister Modi's leadership in India. And he sets very stiff targets and he makes you achieve those targets. He motivates you, inspires you to achieve those targets. And today, I suspect you go to a shop, you won't find an incandescent bulb anymore. If at all it'll be available, it'll be one which will be a fancy decorative piece which will be valued probably 10 times or 20 times what an LED bulb would be as a decorative piece. Similarly, as children, I'm sure we all remember, you couldn't go out of your room without the parents telling you you haven't switched off the light. The fan is still working. I still do it. Every time I enter my home, every time I'm exiting my home, even just now. When I moved from one room to the other, I made sure the lights were switched off, the fan was off, and then left the room. It's something we have to just ingrain in our children at the time of childhood. It's these small messages which to my mind can have a huge payback for the country. Plastic, of course, we are working collectively, all of us, to eliminate the use of single-use plastic. We are looking at collecting plastic waste so it can be recycled. But whether we can make this an important element of our life is something that will need a lot of effort from all well-meaning leaders of society such as yourselves, but I am sure this holistic approach towards waste and its management and incentivizing people, or at least helping them recognize how it can help them, can play a very important role in our efforts to move towards a circular economy. As Mahatma Gandhi had once said, there is sufficient in the world for a man's need, but not for man's greed. I think it's time every citizen recognize that as long as we are conscious, there will be no shortage for anybody to meet the needs of 1.3 billion Indians. It is the greed of a few which hurts the nation, hurts society, hurts the future of our country. And while we may take satisfaction from a lot that we have achieved, I think the potential is endless. There's so much more we can do. And I'm sure collectively, all of us can make that significant impact to changing the way waste is looked at. Just like we started using a lot of waste for the subsurface of a road, the fly ash of the power plants is being used as in the cement mixers or for making the base of roads. Just like we were able to use a lot of the waste that is generated in, let's say, a city like Mumbai for the filling up for the coastal road, the land filling or the filling up of the sea to create the coastal road. These are all small steps, but can have huge dimensions when it comes to recycling and utilization of waste. I'm sure with the collective effort of business, industry, conscious citizens, NGOs, think tanks, and centers of excellence like the CII ITC Center of Excellence on sustainability, we can meet the target or the potential that Niti Aayog had estimated, that a circular economy in India can create 1.4 crore work opportunities for the people of India in the next 5 to 7 years. Let us all work collectively to transform our systems, to adopt the circular economy and its benefits at a faster pace, to scale, so that all of us can be a part of this transition to a circular economy. My best wishes to CII and to ITC in your endeavors. Let us convert this into our pledge, into our commitment. And I have no doubt in my mind that success waits for us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Goel. May I now request Mr. R. Mukundan, immediate past chair of CII National Environment Committee and MD Tata Chemicals, to kindly give the closing remarks.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. As usual, you have motivated us, you have set new goals for us, and you've asked us to do even more. And we would certainly pledge to do even more. But 4 key takeaways from you. But before that, I just want to say, out of that 101 ideas, one of the things which CII has been working very intently is the stubble burning issue in Punjab and Haryana. And we would like to showcase and write a piece so that we sort of transmit that more. I think your message about every small effort matters a lot, and we must communicate, make people conscious, and make them contribute. I think is a very, very important mantra which you've given us. Your other mantra of reduce, reuse, recycle is a message we take to heart, and we will implement in every aspect which we do. And one of the key things you brought about is this word shunya, importance of shunya and net zero. I think we we are going to embrace this going forward, because that's what will take us forward. And you started with interconnectedness, which means how everything is interconnected and zero effect and zero defect. And you sort of gave so many countless examples, and I think we are truly inspired. And thank you so much, sir, for being with us and motivating us to move forward. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mukund. Good luck to you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mukundan.
Thank you.
With that, ladies and gentlemen, we come to a close of this session. Thank you. Thanks to all the guests who've been with us. Thank you very much. Good evening.